Addiction is not having control over doing, taking or using something to a point where it starts to be harmful to you. Either emotionally, physically or mentally. Signs of addiction may include the following scenarios. You walk past a smoker and want a smoke. You watch an ad of tequila and crave it. You see a girl in a bikini on a magazine cover and want porn. But why does this keep happening to me, you think? How do people even get addicted? You ask yourself. In this video we're going to talk about the frontal cortex, dopamine, glutamate and how they are responsible for causing addiction. The frontal cortex. The frontal cortex is your part of the brain that is vital for your consciousness. It plays a key role in future planning. Responsible for your willpower, self-discipline and decision-making. Dopamine. It is a pleasure chemical. Known as the feel-good hormone. Responsible for giving you a sense of pleasure. Dopamine forms part of your reward system. It rewards you with a feel-good sensation when you are doing things you need to be doing, like eating. Well, sometimes though, it rewards you for doing things you have no business doing, like smoking. Your brain is hardwired to seek out behaviors that release dopamine to your reward system. Tobacco is so addictive because it triggers the release of a large amount of dopamine, causing you to want to repeat the experience over and over again. Glutamate. Known as the chemical messenger. Glutamate is a neurotransmitter. Its job is to send messages between your nerve cells. It is the excitatory neurotransmitter, responsible for stimulating excitement. It also plays a major role in learning and memorizing things that cause excitement to your brain, making it more likely that the chemical messages will continue to move from nerve cells to nerve cells and not be stopped. If dopamine was the CEO of your brain, glutamate would be the secretary following him around taking notes. And the frontal cortex would be the owner of the entire company. So every time you are having a smoke, the nicotine stimulates dopamine. The actual good feeling you get from smoking is coming from dopamine, not really from the cigarette itself. The cigarette is only a trigger of dopamine. The nicotine triggers dopamine and creates a sense of pleasure. Then dopamine neurons sends that rewarding process up to the frontal cortex. The frontal cortex sends glutamate neurons back down the midbrain. As the brain generates an experience of pleasure, the neurons going up releases dopamine and neurons going down release glutamate. This up and down activity enables the brain to recognize and learn those things in the environment for that pleasure. So whenever you smoke, a communication between dopamine and glutamate unfolds like this. Dopamine says, hey, this is important. Glutamate says, okay, I will remember this. A couple of hours later, dopamine says, hey, I really want that. Glutamate says, okay, go and get it. What is more interesting though, is that as soon as the communication between dopamine and glutamate starts, your frontal cortex, the part of your brain which is responsible for conscious decision-making, reasoning and willpower immediately goes to sleep. Here is another example. You update a half-naked picture of yourself on Instagram. You get more than 100k reactions and 29k comments. Your dopamine gets stimulated. Glutamate stores it in your memory. Dopamine says we should do that again. Again comes and it comes again and the cycle continues.